And I've seen him train closely in the last phase of your international career. I've always seen, we have been fascinated. We often discuss within our journalist group, standing outside the nets and watching you, that this man is different. He thinks differently. The way you were training in Australia also before you shocked us with your retirement in Brisbane, it felt like you were onto something. You were on a mission, but that mission never completed. Can you talk us about that? You know, the Brisbane. We were shocked. What was going on in the dressing room before we saw that visuals of you and Virat sitting there? What was going through your mind? When did you decide to call it quits from international cricket? And of course, your IPL retirement also gave us a bit of a shock. That why suddenly?
Okay, I've been on a flight for a while. Thanks for the introduction, Boria. So let me just gather my thoughts before I say anything. Look, I think it's a long way back now. For me, I just move on the next day. I've decided something. I don't really hang on to what has gone by. I think the best thing that I can say about the whole episode and how it panned out and where I am right now is, since the day I called it quits, I haven't even, like, one of the amazing things about playing the game or playing anything at the highest level or whatever I accomplished was, when you go to bed on a particular night after you've achieved something or you failed, is that you think through it, you have dreams of it. You know, it's just an amazing feeling. Several times you get wickets and those wickets are replaying in your mind as you go to bed, and that's the best tranquilizer you can have in your life. But ever since I said I'm done, I haven't had one day where I've had a cricketing dream at all. So that's probably the best thing that can suggest that I have no hang-ups or nothing caught past in the time. But for me to jog back my memory that far is quite hard now. Like I said, I've just moved on from it very, very quickly and rapidly. Sure, I didn't have to deliberate it for a lot of times. When I make my decision, I make it, and I don't really, go back and forth. One of my strongest assets, I feel, is my ability to make decisions. Whether it's right or wrong is for people to debate, but at the end of the day, it's my life. I need to do it on my terms. The moment, I think, at Perth, when we had Jaddu and myself as the lead spinners in the side, and Washi played that game in Perth, and then the next game again I came in, and then I had to again make way, was kind of suggestive or indicative to me that my time was up. And if somebody else had to come and take up that place, by all means, they need their space and time. And I'm not one of those guys who will hang around, want to see if I can make a comeback. I've had far too many. I've come far too much in my life to be able to dilly-dally around with all those things. And I work wonderfully well with clarity. And in my head, my clarity was done, so my time was up.
Fascinating. I mean, clear-cut decision-making, you move on. But, a lot of people say you overthink. I want you to tell, I know you've told me this story in the past, but I don't think any sport you can achieve as much as he has achieved if you don't really plan. And if you don't really obsess. You've got to be absolutely obsessive with some things. Can you tell me how you planned for Steve Smith? Because Ashwin and Steve Smith was something, he can do a PhD on Steve Smith. I really want you to tell my audience how you planned for Steve Smith for 6 months and the 2021 series.
Look, before we get there, actually, I want to talk about this overthinking bit, right? And sometimes what people label you with or what people think of you sticks with you, and very often we all make that mistake. We are in a generation where social media is of paramount importance, and people end up taking it way too seriously, because these are all keyboard warriors. These are all keyboard warriors who have no standing to be able to come and tell you something that's of any importance to you, where you can take it on board and then work on it. So I don't really read too much into it, but whoever be it, Boria, I mean, I've come, like I said, assuming that you're going to live 80 years, my 50% of my life is over. And to be able to think of how people labeled you or what they got out of you is something I've gone past. And if overthinking or thinking or intellectually obsessing about something is a negative point, and if it's something that people can't assimilate, I'm okay with that. And it's just my life, and I've made peace with it. And how many people get the gift or boon to be able to find their calling and obsess over their calling? And like I've always said, cricket is my calling. And if if I can't obsess over it, if I can't think about it, then I'm in the wrong place. And like I said, even this morning I was talking to Karthik, who's been a friend or Forte or a Man Friday for me. One of the biggest problems we are encountered with today, and that I would indicate as a happiness quotient, is our inability to lead ourselves. Like what is leading yourself? I believe by the age you're 20, you must at least get a hang of what you stand for. When I say X, Y or Z as a name, you must know what you're standing for. Okay, I won't be late to a place. I commit to a place, I will get there on time. If I'm paid for something, I pay such that I lead for that title. I don't go there because I paid for my time. So for me, all these things are what you stand for, and somebody's inability to lead themselves cannot have an opinion on who I am, right? Because this is my life and it's very dear to me, and I want to lead it the way I want. And which is why I took it upon myself to say Steve Smith is bloody good, and I want to get the better of him. And what better in life than you going one-on-one against someone who's excellent at what he does. That is the blessing I've been given. So for me, I was just thinking, how can I keep this guy under check? He's really good, he plays spin really well. And on the 2018 tour that we went to Australia, we won that series. But there was a lot of talk about the fact that Steve Smith wasn't there in the squad, right? I think Steve Smith and David Warner were not in the squad, and that's probably why India won it. And we went on the tour the second time around. We got the better of Steve Smith. David Warner was still around. Virat Kohli wasn't there in that series. And we did go on to accomplish something special, and which is why I think there is an Instagram post where myself, Pujara and Jinx, I can't remember who else, we put up a post saying there is, and I also wrote down saying there is more meat to the Indian team than just a couple of people, right? And Virat, let's all make no mistake, is probably the torch bearer and was the torch bearer of the Test cricket team, and that's why a lot of people started to follow Test cricket as well. But a Test team cannot be just about one or two individuals, right? And a team that's built a legacy for over a decade just means a lot more than individuals. I think we tend to forget and drive too much upon individuality, and that's why I love what Gautam talks, right? A lot of people end up, judging Gautam for what he's saying. We are all prisoners of our thoughts, right? And in many ways, his thoughts are his own, and you can't judge him for what he's saying. And he keeps on harping upon the fact that credit needs to be given to the team and not to individuals. Why does he say that?
Yesterday also he said that.
Well, yeah, and he's right. And I am, for one, vouching for that being inside the team. Sure, you have your fandom, you adore players, but we are getting into a culture where we are dividing the players from the outside.
Correct.
By talking amazingly about someone and demeaning someone else. Just for example, you're all people working in corporates. Look, tomorrow I can turn up and say amazing things about you, but I have no business talking bad things about Subhayan, right? Like I need to understand that maybe I don't know enough of him to say things of great pedigree or whatever it is. But I rate you, and that's where it ends. But we've got into this crazy culture of that hero and villain business.